As Africa's leading defense news portal, DefenceWeb aims to give you the latest updates on African defense, the South African National Defense Force, and the defense industry. In this week's edition on the continent, Kenya commissions C-145 Skytrucks. South African defense analyst says UN findings on private military contractors in Africa is a bit rich. Less than half of SA Police Service aircraft are operational, and 900 service delivery protests took place in South Africa over 6 months. In SANDF news, new camouflage combat dress, boots, and caps destined for SA soldiers. Retired Joint Ops Chief of Staff questions former uMkhonto weSizwe appointments to the Military Command Council. 1,000+ reserves find full-time employment with Correctional Services. Gunners give a time-honored tribute to their general. Power is restored at the Dunnottar military base, and SA Air Force helis are a part of Table Mountain firefighting efforts. In industry news, April salaries are unable to be paid at Denel Systems, while Denel Dynamics April salaries are unlikely, and RDM and Northrop Grumman collaborate on precision-guided long-range artillery ammunition. In African defense news, Kenya commissions C-145 Skytrucks. The Kenyan Air Force has commissioned its recently acquired C-145 Skytruck transport aircraft into service, which will ultimately help replace the accident-prone Y-12 fleet. 3 surplus aircraft were received from the United States. The Kenyan Ministry of Defense said the handover event on the 20th of April was presided over by the Commander Kenya Air Force Major General Francis Ogola at Moi Air Base. Speaking during this reception ceremony, Ogola expressed gratitude to the US government for the acquisition that will go a long way in enhancing the mission readiness of the Kenya Air Force. UN findings on PMCs in Africa a bit rich. Criticism by a UN High Commission on Refugees working group on mercenaries of interoperability between Russian private military contractors and UN peacekeepers in the Central African Republic attracted the eye of a top South African defense analyst. Putting it bluntly, Helmut Heitman said, "The UN expressing concern is a bit rich. If the world body had its act together and deployed peacekeeping or peace enforcement forces appropriate to the mission in strength, weaponry, and rules of engagement, there would not be many openings for mercenaries of any kind. The UN does not, particularly for lack of countries willing to provide force elements, and partly because it has too many hand-wringing types who seem to have a quaint notion of a fair fight. That is, we only deploy forces commensurate with the forces they face. Apart from anything else, that betrays the troops deployed and the people they are supposed to help. Peacekeeping, and particularly peace enforcement, are not some form of non-contact sport. They're a form of warfare and should be conducted on the basis of utterly overmatching the spoilers, being countered to the extent they either simply give up or are easily defeated, buying time and creating the opening for actual peace building to take place. Less than half of SA Police Service aircraft are operational. Of the South African Police Service SAPS Air Wing's 34 aircraft, only 15 are operational and the rest are undergoing maintenance or grounded after incidents. This is according to a reply to a parliamentary question posed by Democratic Alliance Annette Stein. Minister of Police Becky Cele replied that 17 aircraft are undergoing mandatory periodic inspection and 2 aircraft are grounded for investigation purposes after a crash and a hard landing respectively. An SA Police Service Squirrel helicopter crash landed at Virginia Airport in August 2019 during an exercise. The aircraft ended up on its side. With regard to personal numbers, the SAPS employs 34 pilots and 309 support staff in the Air Wing. Cele said the 2020/2021 financial budget for the Air Wing is 86.7 million rand, and the total 2020/2021 budget for maintenance of aircraft is 68.7 million rand. The South African Police Service Air Wing operates several different aircraft types, the most numerous of which are helicopters. According to Scramble magazine, the Air Wing has 13 AS-350 Squirrel, 6 R-44 Raven 2s, 2 MD-500 and 1 BK-117 helicopters, and 9 PC-6 Turbo Porter, 1 PC-12, 1 King Air C-90 and 1 Citation Sovereign fixed-wing aircraft. 900 service delivery protests in South Africa over 6 months. South Africa recorded more than 900 service delivery protests in 6 months from August to January, according to Minister of Police Becky Cele, as the COVID-19 pandemic did little to halt them. According to the South African Police Service Incident Registration Information System, a total of 909 protest actions took place from 1st of August 2020 to the 31st January 2021. Cele stated in response to a parliamentary question from Freedom Front Plus MP SF du Toit. The above-mentioned incidents were recorded as crowd management unrest-related incidents, the response read. The response added that a total of 657 persons were arrested from the 1st of August 2020 to the 31st of January for service delivery protest action incidents in which illegal road closures were erected that infringed on the constitutional rights of freedom of movement. The Institute for Security Studies Africa last year warned that protests in South Africa are here here to stay. The pandemic has exposed socio-economic weaknesses resulting from poor policy implementation and a fundamental failure of political leadership, it said, adding that many South Africans are giving up on democracy, with low voter turnout, but not on voicing their frustration through protests at a political elite believed to be out of touch with the plight of ordinary people. And in SANDF news, new camouflage combat dress, boots, and caps for SA soldiers. Among reasons for the landward components of the SA National Defence Force embarking on a replacement exercise for, among others, its boots and camouflage uniforms are then being compromised, old-fashioned, and uncomfortable. This will, in time, see the SA Army personnel wearing a new working uniform with one of 3 different camouflage patterns, new boots, and a new camouflage cap, similar to the French Foreign Legion's kepi. The new uniform, boots, and other clothing projects, according to Defence and Military Veterans Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Ngakula, follow concerns raised by her as well as Parliament Joint Standing Committee on Defence and the Defence Force Service Commission on the poor quality of combat boots and uniforms. Soldiers deployed with the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo found boots were wore out quickly in the hot and humid environments. Retired Joint Operations Chief of Staff questions former MK appointments to MCC. Mid-April's announcement of new senior commanders, including a new chief for the National Defence Forces Military Command Council, MCC, by Commander-in-Chief President Cyril Ramaphosa, has drawn criticism from retired Joint Operations Division Chief of Staff, former Major General Mlandeni Sabango. It appears the Military Command Council is solely the preserve of former uMkhonto weSizwe MK members, as they are the ones anointed to lead a dynamic organization such as the SANDF with all its complexities, he says. I would have expected the approach to appointing SANDF leadership to be wider than one component of the integrated forces disregarding candidates with merit from the other 6 forces. They are the Tanzania People's Liberation Army, former TBVC armies, and former SA Defence Force, as well as former security elements from the uMkhonto Freedom Party. This, Sabango says, is an opportunity lost and is a pointer to the dangers of this approach. They include a possible lack of diversity in the MCC, leading to a lack of dynamism and balanced views, bound to negatively affect the moral fiber of the SANDF to its detriment, as well as further fragmenting rather than unifying the MCC, especially at operational and strategic levels. On where to go and what decisions to take, the former 2-star general maintains counterinsurgency training, and a review of the officer training curriculum is a must. 1,000+ reserves find full-time employment with Correctional Services. The military skill set is in demand by at least the Department of Justice and Correctional Services, which earlier this year welcomed over 1,200 Reserve Force staffers to its ranks. The departure of part-time soldiers from the reserve components of the SA National Defence Force, mostly in search of full-time employment rather than the part-time call-up available in defence reserves, was mooted last November. That was when the Reserve Force indicated it was assisting Correctional Services recruit for full-time careers. According to the SA National Defence Force, 1,293 reserves joined Correctional Services. Gunners time-honoured tribute to their general. Fitting tribute was paid to General Kaya Makina, Artillery Regiment General Officer Commanding, who died in March during an artillery formation capability demonstration in Potchefstroom in mid-April. Sea Army Lieutenant General Lawrence Mbata and the extended Army Command cadre were in the northwest town for a top-level landward force conference, with the demonstration a break from the rigors of planning and other work, including an up-close look at concept designs for the new uniform. The artillery demonstration was hosted and executed by 4 artillery regiments, whose officer commanding Lieutenant Colonel M.J. Shabalala explained it was not just another demonstration. The demonstration is also a commemoration for the fallen number 1 gunner and artillery formation GOC, Brigadier General Makina. To honor him, during fire plan Joe Makina, gunners shot the GV5 155mm howitzer, M5 120mm mortar, as well as the 127mm self-propelled multiple rocket launcher Batalia during the live firing exercise, Shabalala told those present. Power restored at Dunnottar military base. 6 months after legal intervention by the SA National Defence Force Union SANDU saw power restored to the Dunnottar military base, the military trade union has again had to go to the same route after power to the engineer formation base was cut. A SANDU legal letter dated 22nd of April has it the electricity supply to the Far Eastern Gauteng base was discontinued, apparently due to the result of non-payment of the 2.8 million rand electricity bill by either the Department of Defence or the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to the Ekurhuleni Metro. The absence of electricity, according to SANDU, was untenable, affecting not only the ability of soldiers and other military personnel based there to perform their required daily tasks. Additionally, electronic security at the base becomes compromised. The military trade union also cited the lack of power to the 150 military families living on base as a concern because payment for power is a monthly deduction from salary. SANDU said electricity was restored on the 23rd of April. SA Air Force helicopters, part of Table Mountain firefighting efforts. The SA Air Force's Western Cape Base 22 Squadron, with a pair of RX medium transport rotorcraft, contributed in no small measure, alongside other disaster management elements, to bringing raging fires in the Table Mountain National Park and adjacent areas under control in spite of bad weather conditions. Working on fire, helicopters were first to be dispatched to combat the fire that started on the mountain on the 18th of April and was spread by strong winds. These aircraft were forced to land by prevailing strong winds and low cloud, which severely limited visibility. When weather conditions allowed, the pair of RXs joined other rotorcraft on the 20th of April. According to the SA Air Force, AFB Yesterplaat dispatched 2 RX helicopters following a distress call by the Provincial Disaster Management to assist in extinguishing raging fires in and around the Table Mountain area. Air crews attacked the blazing fires from the northeast of Table Mountain towards Vredehuk through to the northwestern side of the mountain. 103 Bambi buckets and 206,000 liters of water were dropped. Air crews flew a total of 9.4 hours using 303,552 liters of fuel. The RX helicopters landed safely at 1:35 p.m. and remained on standby until 6 p.m. And in industry news, Denel Land Systems unable to pay April salaries. Denel Land Systems is unable to pay salaries for April, as the division says it is under extreme financial and liquidity pressure. In a notice to all employees dated 15th of April, Denel Land Systems said revenues have been extremely low, resulting in a weak outlook for total sales for the current month. Thus, April has proven to be an even more challenging month, and as a result, our liquidity position remains unchanged, if not worse. It is with great regret to inform you that we will not be able to honor our contractual obligations with regards to the payment of salaries on the 25th of April 2021. We will continue engaging all relevant stakeholders to try and avert this unfortunate reality, the company said. Denel Land Systems also owes staff money for May to July 2020 salaries. April salaries unlikely at Denel Dynamics. Denel Dynamics has warned its employees that it is unlikely to pay salaries for April due to the company's poor financial situation. In a memo dated 20th of April, Denel Dynamics CEO Selo Nsihlele stated, "We wish to report that the company's financial situation remains constrained, and as a result we are unable to pay outstanding salaries. This is due mainly to the continued financial difficulties that the company finds itself in." Nsihlele explained that the failure to honor our commitment for March salaries and the delay in providing updates on April salaries is due to the delay in realizing a milestone with an overseas client. Progress has been made in this regard, and we expect to receive the payment soon. Our ability to pay salaries in time before the end of April 2021 remains at risk as things stand. The team is also working hard to complete the next milestone with this client. Denel Dynamics promised staff an update as soon as it gets feedback from the client. As indicated in our earlier communications, we need all employees to focus on executions of programs to be able to invoice and thus meet our commitments. Nsihlele thanked employees who are continuing to make every effort to stabilize the business despite the challenges we are facing. RDM and Northrop Grumman collaborate on precision-guided long-range artillery ammunition. Rheinmetall Denomination RDM and Northrop Grumman have signed a 10-year partnership agreement on precision-guided enhanced-range artillery ammunition. The agreement was signed in February this year but announced in April by Rheinmetall, which said that over the next decade the two companies plan to cooperate together in order to offer forward-looking ammunition technology to the international market, including the United States, to support future artillery operations. The partnership will focus above all on achieving an enhanced-range 155mm artillery round fitted with an integrated M1156 precision guidance kit, as well as on developing a new 155mm projectile with an improved integrated propulsion system. In service with a number of armed forces, the M1156 precision guidance kit is an inexpensive, immediately available means of enhancing the accuracy of existing types of artillery ammunition, Rheinmetall said. In combination with Rheinmetall's velocity-enhanced artillery projectile, which currently achieves the longest maximum range of any conventional artillery projectile, the M1156 precision guidance kit results in a swiftly available solution proven in numerous combat operations for long-range precision-guided munitions, Rheinmetall added. The longest range ever attained by a conventional artillery projectile currently stands at 76 kilometers, achieved in 2019 at the Alcan Pan test range with a non-NATO Joint Ballistics Memorandum of Understanding conforming 52 caliber gun and RDM 155mm projectile. Thanks for listening to the podcast. For the latest leading and trusted news in defense, aerospace, and maritime security, like and subscribe to our social media channels. We're available on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and have the latest aerospace, defense, and security developments delivered to your inbox. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.